Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today on Observe Day podcast, we're celebrating the International Day for Tolerance, a moment dedicated to embracing diversity, understanding our differences, and building bridges of peaceful coexistence in an increasingly divided world. Joining us is someone who has devoted his life's work to exactly that mission, Michael Bach, a globally recognized leader in inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Idea. Michael is the founder of the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion and Pride at Work Canada, two organizations that have reshaped the way workplaces approach equity and belonging. He's a best-selling author with influential books such as Birds of All Feathers, Doing Diversity and Inclusion Right, and Alphabet Soup, The Essential Guide to LGBTQ2+ Inclusion at Work, and was recently named one of CIO View's 10 most influential DEI leaders revamping the future. His work has earned him national and international recognition from the Candalis Canada Honors to Inspire Award for LGBTQ Person of the Year. Today we'll explore how tolerance can move beyond mere acceptance into meaningful action, and how understanding privilege, embracing empathy, and creating inclusive spaces can transform not just organizations, but entire societies. Welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me, Wisdom.
Yeah, Michael, as we mark the International Day for Tolerance, what does tolerance mean to you in today's global climate, and how is it different from true inclusion?
Yeah, I don't love the word tolerance. I love what the International Day for Tolerance represents, but I don't love the word tolerate because and I should back up and read something that is on the UNESCO website. And it says that tolerance is respect, acceptance, and appreciation of the rich diversity of our world's cultures, our forms of expression, and ways of being human. When I hear the word tolerance, I think about my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law tolerated me. She didn't, you know, embrace me. She didn't, she wasn't thrilled to see me. She accepted that I was, married to her son, and that was okay. But I think when you look at the definition and what the UNESCO website says, it really is about inclusion. It's about embracing difference. And that's what it means to me. It's about not just tolerating the differences that we see in the world. It's about encouraging them, embracing them, being excited by them. I love that I live in a world where people have different experiences from mine. I don't need to be around people who have the same lived experience as mine. I got that down. It's nice to be around people who have a variety of experiences, come from different parts of the world, different lived experiences. And it's about embracing those things, which I think are very exciting.
Well, thank you for clarifying and the concepts tolerance. You've often said that inclusion isn't just a moral imperative; it is good business. Can you unpack what that really means for organizations and communities?
Yeah, so I think we have enough data now, enough research that shows the positive impact that a focus on diversity and inclusion can have on our communities, workplaces. And the data shows us that there will be a positive impact if we really do the work. I'm thinking about one study out of Australia that shows the positive impact on employee engagement with a strong focus on diversity and inclusion, how much that can improve employee engagement. Or another study that shows how it can increase customer loyalty. I think, and I get shunned to some extent for this approach. I think if we take the emotion out of the conversation, if we take the social justice approach out of the conversation, we can be far more effective. Because ultimately, most people are motivated by money. And if we can focus on that data, on the numbers, then we can paint a picture of how a focus on diversity and inclusion will have a positive impact on our businesses, which ultimately positively impacts our people and our community.
Oh, at the beginning of the episode, I was introducing while I was introducing my view. One of the key words I used was idea, right? Inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. For a lot of persons, that can feel abstract. How do you explain it in simple human terms?
Yeah. So the D is for diversity, and that's about all of the things that make us different. And sometimes that's about our race or ethnicity, where we grew up. Did we grow up in a big city or a small town? That's about economics. It's about learning style. It's about every single thing that makes us unique. Inclusion is about creating spaces where you can bring all of those things to that space without fear of repercussion, without concern for your advancement. So being able to, I'll use myself as an example. I'm gay. So being able to travel the world and feel safe is inclusion. But there are still 70 some odd countries where being gay is illegal. That's exclusion. The E stands for equity. And in a nutshell, equity is about accepting that we don't all start from the same place. And therefore, we need different things in order to be successful. I use the example of the English language. We are doing this interview in English. That is my prime language. It's my only language.
Oh.
If a person doesn't have English as a primary language, then we will not be starting from the same place. Let's say we're writing a test. I will have a far better grasp of the English language than the other person, and therefore I have an advantage in that situation. So we have to accept that the other person isn't starting from that same place.
Yeah.
Accessibility can mean a lot of things. We tend to think about people with disabilities when we talk about accessibility, but really it's just about how you access an organization or a space. Sometimes that's about physical access, so making sure that people who use wheelchairs or mobility aids can get into the space. People who are visually impaired or hearing impaired can access the space in the same way. Sometimes it's also about your website or documents you use. It's about the language you use. Is it accessible? Because, of course, the average person has a grade 8 education when it comes to, or a grade 8 reading level, not education, but a grade 8 reading level. So are you using language that is, university level, or are you using language that will be accessible for all? So access is about much more than just physical access or access for people with disabilities. It's about creating spaces and experiences that have no barrier.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind-the-scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Ooh. We're talking about the tolerance, and when we're talking about tolerance, it leads to conversations like diversity, inclusion, equity, basically the idea, right? For many organizations, they treat diversity as a checklist. My question is, how can leaders shift from symbolic gestures to genuine systemic inclusion?
My recommendation on that one really is about focusing on what's good for your business, what's good for your organization. All organizations in the world function on the same principle: money in, money out. Nonprofit organizations, government organizations, they're not focused on making a profit, but they still have to do the most they can with the money they have. Obviously, for-profit businesses are focused on making more money. So we all operate on the same principle. And if you focus on what's good for your organization, so employee engagement, talent retention, reducing your voluntary turnover, safety incidents, what are the things that are important to your organization? Not around DEIA. Put that aside. Just as an organization. So I talk to clients all the time, and they'll tell me that one of their biggest issues is finding talent. I often work with organizations that are hiring people that are in difficult to find positions. And I'll say, okay, so the issue is talent. A focus on diversity and inclusion can help you with talent attraction in these ways, so that diversity and inclusion isn't itself a standalone. We're still focused on talent attraction, but we're leveraging diversity and inclusion to our advantage. So we're finding different pools of talent. One client I'm working right now, they're in the construction space, and we are actively going out to immigrant communities and working to attract those immigrants into this one particular workplace because they have the skills that they're looking for. But it's not something that necessarily happens naturally. You have to be deliberate in your actions. And we've seen that. Again, the evidence tells us that if you aren't doing this work deliberately, it just doesn't happen. So focusing on it deliberately and on what are those business drivers, then you will see results, as opposed to, celebrating Women's History Month or whatever the celebration is of the day. Those things are great. They don't actually change anything. We need to be doing things, initiatives, programs, etc., that will actually change our organizations for the better.
I like the way, I love the approach, right? Instead of, I think most businesses will do more work if they realize and find ways in which doing this itself can benefit them. And so it's no longer an act of charity. It's now a question of, okay, if we post our job opportunity all across so many other platforms, beyond just a question of diversity, it will lead us to getting people that are actually good, not just limit us to a pool of, let's just say, I don't know, maybe the Latino community, something like that. Now it's a question of, post it all across different places. So now whoever is the best of the best gets the job.
Yes, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Wow. I love for you to clear some of the common misconceptions people have about diversity, especially around the reverse discrimination or diversity fatigue. Those are like two big terms. Could you break it down for us?
Sure. So there's the term reverse discrimination is meant to describe discrimination against people from the majority. And I put that in air quotes. When we say the majority, we're talking about the population that is the majority in a particular country or region. So in the case of myself in Canada, the majority would be white people. And so in that case, reverse discrimination would describe discrimination against a white person. However, there's actually no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's just discrimination. And we need to let go of that term reverse discrimination. You can discriminate against anyone. And the question is why you are doing it. If you are discriminating against a person, so not hiring for a job, not promoting them, not giving them a contract because of the color of their skin, even if they're white, then it's discrimination. Diversity fatigue is a term that refers to, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's exhaustion or fatigue from doing work in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Why is that?
It is, well, because people get tired of it. People get tired of hearing the same old messages without seeing progress. This particularly we see in organizations that talk a lot about their work in DEIA, but they're not actually doing anything. These are the organizations that are putting on, Black History Month celebrations, Diwali celebrations, etc. But they're not focused on, their employee engagement, on their talent development, etc. And it gets exhausting because nothing is changing and nothing will change. So they hit this point of diversity fatigue, and they start to say things like, well, we tried that diversity thing, but it didn't work. well, no, you didn't actually try it. What you did was window dressing. And what we need is change. And that's when I hear that comment, and I talk to people and say, okay, talk to me about your programs. And, oh, we have employee resource groups, or we celebrated this day or such and such. And yeah, that's great. It's not going to affect any change, but lovely, so that's how what diversity fatigue means.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for just breaking it down to simpler concepts that I can wrap my head around. Because at first I was like, wait, which one is diversity fatigue? What is reverse discrimination? I was like, these are two big words. Okay, I understand those terms now. So when anybody starts throwing those words around, I'm like, nah, dude. Oh, why are you making me seem as though you're saying something big? Uh,
Yeah,
one of
not that
your
complicated.
key yeah, one of your key messages is about recognizing privilege. Now, I have to ask this question because most
Yes.
people see privilege as as a bad word, right? Especially with what's happening, in the climate, political climate, especially in the US and in other
Mhm.
parts of the world too. You say recognize privilege as a superpower. How can acknowledging
Mhm.
privilege help individuals become better allies? Before we even talk about how it can help individuals become better allies, when you say privilege, what are you referring to? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So privilege is something that is assigned to you because of a characteristic of your identity. So, as an example, male privilege. There is a privilege to being a male, whether that's in employment. Let's look at how much women make compared to how much men make for doing the same job. Women, on average, in Canada and the United States, at least, make 76 cents on the dollar for a same or similar job compared to a man. That's privilege.
Yeah.
So privilege is not something you have any control over. Privilege is something that is just assigned to you. Here's another example: education. It is estimated in Canada that 65 to 80% of jobs require some form of post-secondary education, so college or university. 65 to 80%. That's privilege. You can change your circumstances. So you can go and get post-secondary education, which will give you that privilege, but you cannot change that privilege exists.
Yeah.
So some people talk about privilege as a bad thing, and I think that's the wrong approach, largely because you have no control over it. I am a man. I cannot change that to save my life. I'm white. I cannot change that to save my life. So I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to feel bad about it. The question is not, can you change your privilege? The question is, what do you do with your privilege? How are you leveraging your privilege to the advantage of others? So using the male privilege as one example, and incidentally, there are lots of different types of privilege that I could talk about. I'm just going to use this one because it's the most obvious. But
Okay.
male privilege, using that example, let's say I'm in a meeting and my female colleague suggests something that's a really good idea, but she just kind of gets ignored. People don't listen to her. My job is to stop and say, hey, Keisha just had a really great idea. Keisha, can you tell us again what you were talking about? And make sure people listen and hear what she has to say. Because as a man, people give me the privilege that when I talk, well, you should listen to me. Whether or not you should is
Yeah.
another conversation. But it is me in that moment leveraging my privilege to say, hey, Keisha, I've got your back here. And it is a superpower in that anyone can do that. You don't have to be the CEO. You don't have to be the most powerful person in the room. You can simply be somebody who has a privilege that another person doesn't have. And, an example there would be my straight allies, people who are heterosexual, speaking out about the importance of LGBTQ plus inclusion, which if I say that, I have an agenda. If a straight person says it, people are going to listen. So I think privilege is something that we could use to create a more inclusive world and a more equitable world where people can thrive. We just have to be willing to do it.
Well, yeah, thank you for breaking down the concept of privilege. Um, I want us to end the episode um, with an advice for listeners who they want to start making a difference in their own environments, in the places, the organizations and systems that they are in. What are some small, everyday actions that build tolerance and inclusion?
Yeah. So I think the first thing I'm going to say, and this may seem glib, but it's really important, is do something. And, if you do nothing, nothing will happen. Nothing will change. And you might think, oh, that's not my job. I don't have permission to say something. If you see someone who is being discriminated against, who is being ignored, who's being whatever, do something, say something, insert yourself into that moment. We need to be active in our participation and not passive. Passive is not getting us anywhere. It hasn't gotten us anywhere. It's never going to. So do something in order to help create more inclusive spaces. That something may be just listening to your colleague who is having trouble with their manager because, their manager's a misogynist and doesn't think that women should be working. Just be there for them. You can just be an ally by listening to them. You can create space for them by, let's say you're working on a project and you notice that, one of your colleagues got left off the project. Advocate for that person to be on the project. It's little things like that that have an incredible impact. It's not the big things. People think that they need to do these grand gestures and the really large things. But the reality is that, there's an old saying in English. I don't know how it translates to any other language, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
So just take a bite, just one bite, and do something, and really engage with people and figure out what they need. Talk to your colleagues. Talk to them about their experiences in the organization. Find out what it's like. Are they having challenges? And how can you be there to support them?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Micah.
It is my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Where can listeners learn more about the work you do and also connect with you?
Absolutely. They can go to my website, which is michaelbach.com, or they can find me on social media. I'm at the Michael Bach.
Oh, I'll put the links in the description. Once again, thank you so much for enlightening us and just helping us be more aware of tolerance, diversity, and the idea framework.
It is my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.